You know, some stories are hiding in plain sight. They're woven into the floors of old churches, they're coded into ancient myths, and, just maybe, they're written into our very DNA. Today, we're going to pull on a thread that unravels this incredible tale. A tale of sorcerer kings, secret societies, and a treasure that could literally rewrite history. So, let's dive in. We are exploring the Merovingian mythos.
Forget about lost cities of gold or buried pirate chests. The theory we're digging into today suggests something way more profound. It's about a sacred lineage, right? A kind of divine inheritance passed down through the generations, protected by this complex web of symbols and secrets. It's a code that, if you can crack it, points not to wealth, but to a hidden dimension of what it means to be human.
All right, so where do we even begin a journey like this? Well, it's not in some grand, dusty library or a forgotten tomb. Nope. Our story starts in a small, almost unassuming village church in the south of France, a place that just might hold the very first key to this entire mystery.
If you were to visit the Church of Rennes-le-Château today, you'd walk right over it. A perfectly laid out 64-square chessboard. To most people, it's just cool decoration, a bit odd maybe, but to those who know what to look for, it's not decoration at all. It's the opening move in a game that's been played in the shadows for centuries, a game where the pawns are kings and the board is history itself.
And here's the thing, this church isn't just in some random location, it sits right in the historical heartland of a mysterious and really powerful dynasty, rulers who, well, were said to be more than human. It's time to meet the Merovingians.
So the history books, they call them the long-haired kings. They believe their power, like the biblical Samson, was held in their uncut hair. But the legends? Oh, the legends tell a completely different story. They whisper of healing powers, of clairvoyance, of a lineage that was anything but ordinary. These guys weren't just kings. They were seen as sorcerers, as priest kings, guarding some kind of ancient power.
So just how extraordinary are we talking? Well, you might want to buckle up for this part. According to the mythos, the Merovingian bloodline didn't just pop up in the 5th century. The claims are absolutely staggering. One is that it traces directly back to Jesus and Mary Magdalene. And get this, it supposedly goes even further, back to the god kings of a forgotten civilization before the Great Flood. In this version of the story, the Holy Grail isn't a cup, it is this sacred bloodline.
Now, a secret that big would need some serious protection, right? And according to this whole theory, it had them. Powerful guardians, secret societies who understood the symbols and protected the bloodline down through the ages. Okay, let's go back to that chessboard on the church floor. Why that specific pattern? Well, it turns out it's a signature symbol of none other than the Knights Templars. The theory goes that during the Crusades, the Templars didn't just find gold in the East, they found secret knowledge. And that knowledge was symbolized by the profound game of chess. And this quote right here, it gets to the very heart of it. See, to the initiated, the chessboard was so much more than a game. It was a map of reality itself. Those 64 squares represented the dual forces that shape our world. You know, light and dark, order and chaos. All of it woven together like threads in some grand cosmic tapestry. A web of fate.
And this is where it all starts to click into place. The chessboard in that little church, the mythical sorcerer kings, the secret societies, they're all pointing to one single unifying and totally explosive idea. A code. A code hidden in one powerful number. 64. Just 64. Remember that number. The number of squares on a chessboard. It might just be the Rosetta Stone for this entire mystery. The one key that unlocks everything. And this is where the rabbit hole gets really deep. Just think about this for a second. On one hand, you have the 64 squares of the chessboard, right? A map of fate. Then, modern biology comes along and tells us there are exactly 64 codons in our DNA, the literal building blocks, the genetic alphabet that writes the code for all life. And if that wasn't enough to make your brain melt, look at ancient Egypt. Mythology tells us the sacred Eye of Horus was shattered into, you guessed it, 64 pieces. It's like this ancient myth of Thoth, the god of wisdom. Reassembling that shattered eye is the perfect metaphor for the whole thing. Just like a chess master has to navigate the 64 squares, and just like our DNA combines its 64 codons to create life, this ancient story is all about gathering the scattered pieces to make something divine and whole again.
So, what does this all mean?
The Merovingian mythos isn't just some story about a forgotten royal family. It's proposing that there's a blueprint, a code for divinity, a sacred pattern that was shattered and scattered a long, long time ago. And it's hidden in our myths, our games, and maybe even inside our own bodies, just waiting for someone to put all the pieces back together.
Okay, let's just pause and take a breath, because that is an incredible story. It connects genetics, mythology, secret history, all into one massive narrative. But now we have to ask the big question. Is any of it actually true? And this is where the story gets even more complicated.
And this really is the fundamental tension here, right? You've got two ways of looking at it. On one side, you have the mythos, this incredibly powerful, intricate web of symbols that just feels deeply true on a metaphorical level. But on the other side, you have mainstream historians who will quite rightly point out that there is zero concrete physical proof of a Jesus bloodline, and that some key parts of this story, like the secret priory of Sion, look a lot like a clever modern hoax.
So that leads us to the real puzzle, doesn't it? Are we looking for a literal, suppressed history that we need to prove with ancient documents and DNA tests? Or is this entire story a kind of allegory, a symbolic map that uses history and myth to point us toward a deeper truth about our own consciousness and human potential?
You know, whether you believe it as literal fact or you interpret it as a grand metaphor, one thing is for sure. This myth has an incredible, enduring power. There's a reason it has inspired so many books, movies, and truth seekers.
The source material we looked at uses this really cool image, the web of Arachne, the spider goddess who literally weaves the fabric of reality. It is the perfect metaphor for this mystery. You pull on one thread, say the chessboard, and you feel a tug on another, the Templars. And that's connected to the bloodline, which is connected to our DNA, and maybe even to the stars themselves.
And maybe that's the real treasure here. Maybe it doesn't actually matter if some Merovingian king was a literal descendant of Jesus. What matters is the incredible idea the story presents, that we are not just random accidents, that there is a pattern, a code, an intricate design that connects the inner world of our genetics to the outer world of the cosmos.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. Is the search for the Holy Grail really about digging up some lost tomb in France, or is it about reassembling the scattered pieces of a divine blueprint that's hidden inside each and every one of us? The game is on the board. Your move.